everyone, it's me again. My name is Waffle and I'm 10 years old. Today I'm going to read an interesting book called Crime and Punishment that I never read before. Be prepared to be fascinated and horrified by this short story of crime and punishment through the ages. Let's see. So, there's contents. What is crime? Lawmakers believe in punishments, superstition, the body tower, victims of trauma, all the way to protection and detection. So, only 30. I'm not gonna hit one anymore. So, we're gonna read all this book because it's only 31 pages. Let's see. What is a crime? Every society in every age is led by a set of rules which determine what was permissible and what was forbidden. The rules, which gradually became the written laws, helped everyone to live together harmoniously and were generally accepted. Those who did not abide by the rules offended against the conventions of society. Such people are called criminals, although in earlier times they were known as felons. Humiliation. Public humiliation, such as forcing a drunkard to wear a barrel, acted as a deterrent to others. Any forging or defacing of money was treated very seriously. This imitation note was called bank restriction note by its creator, George Crookshank. He made it to raw attention what was a fair punishment after he had passed 2 women hanging from the gallows outside Newgate. Their crime was to have passed 4 £1 notes. Crookshank's satirical, look at that. Satirical, so right. Satirical. Was when passport was imitation was so popular so that this had stealing it. The governors of the bank in law were exceeding worth. Since the tenor was and what a crime. Punishments of the envious. Religious law and secular law were very closely associated in early times. Thus, people believed offenders could incur punishment in this time and in the next. And this medieval pictures those guilty of envy continually move back and forth between the tanks of boiling, freezing water by pitchfork-wielding devils, are masked, and this is
grotesque.
Grotesque. This grotesque elements is popularly called spreader. A macaron send a metal plate with spores into the skull mesh to prevent speech. A woman's lot. Women are expected to obey men. They want shadows or the property of men and meet standards of behavior set by men. One of the 18th century punishment of a woman who led a disorderly life was shaving the head. Justice, purity, and hope. Women seldom enjoy the same rights as men in the eyes of laws, which was, of course, written by men. Emmeline Pankhurst's picture above led the suffragettes who fought for women's rights, most notably the right to vote. Official colors were purple for justice. white for purity, and green for hope. The scold. Public humiliation was often used both to punish wrongdoers and set an example to others. Here, a scold, a gossip, wears a bridle. Perhaps this is linked to how when adult talk to teenagers in the 17th century, it was possible to condemn a complete innocent to death by verbal innocence. Evidence alone. Okay? Very interesting story. Now that's actually very interesting, as you can all find. I can tell it is. Because why? Of course it's talking about something actually. So give a crime to every one page. So let's continue. So, lawmakers. Early English codes of law stressed compensation rather than retribution during the reign of Elizabeth. In the 7th century, the fine for murder was 100 shillings. 12 shillings for severing an ear. The influence of the church became profound. Fines were paid to the clergy and to the king. Under King Canute, mutilation became common. On all the dress was no nearest. Slaves, men without property, and women had no estate in religious or secular laws. You know, I'm a bit itchy in my leg. Okay, I'm talking with my brother a bit. I'm a bit itchy right here. You get to know what it feels like. It's actually very hard. Oh my god, so early English causes law stress, so we are alright here. Eventually, the concept of sin and retribution came together until execution replaced compassion in response to lawbreaking. Magna Carta, this document of 1215 drawn by up the rebellious barons and signed by King John, laid down important principles of law. Is stipulated that no free man shall be arrested, imprisoned, and disposed or in any way interbanished or save by the lawful judgment of the leaders of law and power. At the height of British power, British lawmakers set judgment all over the world. After 1698, the East India Company gained the rights in Calcutta to administer justice, including the power to hang Indians. Okay, that's quite cool. So I can see that's actually very important. You know. So what? looking at something, Mommy. Talking about crime and punishment. Okay, looks very good. Oh, so I'm really hurt, but we have to still make it. Scrum Bushman and Lowers. We have talked much about it. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. So let's continue. Wow. Oh. So, art. Yeah. Let's go. No, that's not that, Mommy. I'm looking at crime and punishment. Oh, so okay, everybody, let's go. Wait a minute more. Okay. The King's Court, the King's Bench, situated in Westminster Hall, was the highest court in the land. The King formerly sat in the person at his court. The 20th century dispensation speaks shackled prisoners as they waited turn in the dock. In the Middle Ages, innocents of the guilt used to be charged on ordeal. One such ordeal was accused to place his bandaged hand in boiling water. After 3 days, bandages were removed, and if they were uninjured, God had declared innocence. And he saw was the anger of heaven. The accused was punished accordingly for crime. Common law. These manuscripts illustration is from a record of the compulsory law of the Saxons, dating from the early 13th century. It illustrates divorce for a shear of time. Priest separated as one else shear and other shears. Repenting the wise prophecy which he returns. Law of God. The Bible recounts how God called Moses of Mount Sinai gave him the 10 Commandments on 2 stone tablets. For many years, against the religious were punished in the same manner, tried against property or people. Heretics were always put to death. Belief and punishment. Belief was the foundation upon which order was built throughout much of our history. When 1533 Henry VIII broke with the Church of Rome and Church England, the resulting Reformation brought harsh punishment to those who stood in his way. Everyone had to swear an oath to the king as Supreme Court head of the church. Refusal to swear was high treason. Failure to do so resulted in punishment in this world, usually a terrible death, or by burning or being hanged, running quarters, and internal damnation in the next. Jesus' oaths. Division between Protestant and Catholic belief was manipulated by oaths who spread wars of a Catholic uprising in London in the 1670s, causing widespread hysteria. Oaths were eventually punished severely. Survey of the monasteries. In 1535, royal officials told a monastery as Henry VIII's behest, submitting a report to the king, inscribed the monks and nuns as weak and superstitious in advance, gave the king an excuse to dissolve the monasteries and excluding monks who resisted. Roles in hell. So these are your devils. People will fearful what happens after the death, and this will influence the ways they behave. Heretic person who disagree with the religious teachings of the time will burn. One of the most famous institutions were burning in heretic teachings of Archbishop Bramah. So London Bridge. I know the London Bridge. London Bridge is actually something that's very good. London Bridge. You know the London Bridge is London. Of course we know. That is actually very, very, very something that we all know. So great. Let's continue. My leg. So we want to read this. London Bridge. Several as atop London Bridge used to be a common sight. One of the better known to the end of they belonged to Bishop John Fisher, who was executed for reason in 1535. Fisher's crime was to deny that the king was the supreme head of the church, set with power display on the pole. The crowd passing over the bridge commented that it grew fresher and more commonly every day. Guy Fawkes Lantern. This is lantern or lanthorn, as it was then called, which Fawkes was wearing as he crashed in the cellar beneath the Houses of Parliament, which he planned to light 12 fuse connected to 36 barrels of gunpowder. Remember, Guy of Fawkes to the sky, an explosive expert with the Spanish army, was recruited by Robert Castabas, who assassinated the Protestant king and the leadership in 1605 by blowing up Parliament. The plot was uncovered. Fawkes arrested and tortured until he reached true identity. Fawkes was hanged, run, and quartered along with his fellow conspirators. Superstition. Fear of witchcraft was widespread for many centuries. In the 16th century, laws were passed which stated that penalty for witchcraft, enchantment, or sorcery. Because the crime was unprovable by nature, suspicion or sufficient grounds or accusation. Proof would be light or natural mark on the body. According to one account, witches could be identified by the habit, one of throwing back the hair and intertwining their fingers. Their monologue, the guy in front of the house, not morally. James, I was particularly concerned about witchcraft so much that he recorded his views in a book published in 1603 entitled The Monarchy. James 1. King James was permitted to use torture under Scottish law, something forbidden under the English law. Once was subjected to a stormy sea. Crossing chairs, crew stuck to fan of brewing the storm. Fan did not confess under traditional means of torture. So James suggested a new device. Nails upon all his fingers were riven, and under every nail thrusting 2 needles. Fan was eventually burned alive. Death by fire. The circumstances describe most witches, not all women, as a rule of which were mercifully strangled before being burnt. By the other Mars account of one incident tells that woman broke free of the snowfire switchers, burning always with a huge crowd, threw the woman back into the flames. By proof, one very strange superstition is illustrated here. The accused is naked, tied by the waist with a length of rope. He is then made to approach and stretch the mortal wound of the body of the deceased as it lies in his coffin. If the wound subsequently starts to bleed, and the accused is guilty of murder. In this example of Lucerne Chronicles 1530, the accused was in fact convicted of the murder of his wife. Initiation. The medieval expression shows initiation rites for witches. It reflects temporary fear of the unknown at the time, with protection against increase and illness rely as much on propaganda, ritual, and chance as medicine. So we will stop to here. So take care, everyone, and see you later. Have a nice day. See you later.